Welcome back to That's My Podcast. If you never listened before, leave a comment and a like on this video of why The Rock is a shitty actor. I'm here today, of course, to talk about Red One, the new Rock movie. This time it's about him being Santa's Secret Service. It also stars fucking Chris Evans. Ooh. What I will say is that this movie, honestly, it's better than Chris Evans' last couple of movies. I was about to say last 2 or 3, but I don't know what other movies he made. I know it's better than that shitty Apple movie he made last year with that hottie Anna de Armas, Ghosted, and then that other movie he made with Ryan Gosling, The Great Man. Ooh. But yeah, what's this movie about? The Rock is, like I said, Santa's Secret Service, and Santa gets kidnapped in this movie. This movie's insane. I wouldn't say it's terrible. I just think it's so mediocre. So it starts off with Chris Evans as a kid, and he steals his uncle's keys, and he goes up to this room, and he unlocks this closet door, and all these Christmas presents are there, and you realize that he does it because he's trying to prove that Santa's not real, and he's making money while he's doing it, even though he's only 12 years old. So then his uncle pops in, and he's like, "Jack, how dare you?" And he lectures him. He tells him
things are about to get real. Cover us. We got snowmen!
Well, it was nice to meet you, Cal. Good luck with everything.
He does this dumb shit. At the beginning of the scene, you see him steal a coffee from some random white girl, and then he steals a newspaper because, he's a thief. And he sets this gazebo on fire with the newspaper. So when he succeeds, there's this baby crying and has a lollipop in his hand. And this motherfucker steals the lollipop. Like, what the actual fuck? So then we finally meet The Rock's character. He's protecting Santa. Santa's literally at some random mall in fucking Philly. And what happens in the scene is some guy cuts the line. I'm pretty sure it's this comedian that I used to watch on YouTube. He cuts the line and he's like, "Can you promote this for me, Santa?" And he tells him that he's popping because he got 3,000 followers. So fucking stupid. And he immediately backs off because he's scared of The Rock, I guess. Nobody's scared of The Rock other than water bottles at Amazon. Like, what the fuck? The Rock is about to retire from his duty of being Santa's Secret Service. And his reason is because he's just sick of how people act nowadays, the consumerism, which is a valid reason, but this movie doesn't go any deeper than that, so surface level. So then we cut back to Chris Evans finding the North Pole's location, and he's watching the boxing match that he bet on earlier. Of course, he lost. They don't talk about that anymore in the rest of the movie. I don't even know why that was added in, just to show that he's a con man. I don't know. So the next scene, they finally get back to the North Pole. They greet Mrs. Claus, who's played by Bonnie Hunt, and then we see The Rock and Just Kidding Simmons have a heart-to-heart. And J.K. Simmons wants him to stay, but The Rock is like, "Well, the reason I'm leaving is because more people on the naughty list than on the nice list this year." So J.K. Simmons tells him that means they need us more than ever now. So The Rock thinks it over, and he goes down to the original Santa house. If only we could see it. Every night scene in this movie looks so dark and muddy. I have no idea why. I mean, obviously because of the green screen, the whole movie, and they don't know how to light night scenes. That's when The Rock notices something suspicious. He sees these lights flickering where Santa Claus is at, and he investigates, and he realizes that Santa is missing. Of course, he goes after the people who kidnapped him. Of course, they get away because this is the plot of the movie, duh. So then that's when we finally meet Lucy Liu's character, and Lucy Liu looks hot as fuck in this movie. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the bangs. I don't know if it's the makeup, whatever. She's the director of Mora, the Mythological Oversight and Restoration Authority. It's so stupid. And the way she was acting in this scene, I thought she was going to be the twist villain, but she's not. I guess it's just the shitty dialogue. So that's when she tells The Rock that they need to find Chris Evans' character. He's known as the Wolf. He's an expert tracker. He can track anything. Because they literally only have a day before Christmas to get him back. So then that's when we cut back to Chris Evans' character. And he wakes up in a bathtub. It's literally a whiskey ad. We get a blatant shot of Bullet Bourbon. It's insane. And that's when you find out that he's a deadbeat dad. His son's basically the nerd version of him. His son's hacked his school, and he got caught because one of his friends ratted him out. So then that's when Jack gives him this goofy-ass lecture. He's like, well, you can't trust anybody, kid. So he drops him off, and of course his ex-baby mama tells him that he should be there more for her son. Just some of the goofiest pulling at your heartstrings this movie tries to attempt. So when he gets back to his apartment, he's ambushed by soldiers for Mora or mercenaries. And they have this device. They try to get him with it. It knocks people out. And somehow Chris Evans is able to take them all down. They never explain why. Somehow Chris Evans has the skills of Jackie Chan and Jason Bourne all in one. He takes them all down, but of course he gets taken down by Lucy Liu last minute. So lame. And she wakes him up because she has this gun that you can wake people up with after they get incapacitated, I guess. This scene is so dumb. We see the Headless Horseman, but it doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't it just be mythical Christmas creatures instead of just one cameo by Headless Horseman? Why not just have them all there? Why not have the fucking Easter Bunny or the Sandman? Just the Headless Horseman. It didn't make any sense. He gets interrogated by The Rock and this fucking polar bear. The CGI for the polar bear actually looked good. They probably used a model of a polar bear. That's probably the only good CGI in this movie. And The Rock is reluctant to work with him because he's a level 4 naughty lister. And they find out that he was paid to track the North Pole, but he didn't know that he was tracking the North Pole, obviously. And they tell him that Santa got kidnapped, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But then, obviously, the Headless Horseman pops out. So the next scene, we finally find out who the villain of this movie is. And it's Kiernan Shipka. And Kiernan Shipka put Santa in this giant snow globe, and she's basically just draining his power, which I don't even know what Santa's power is. Is it he's able to be everywhere at once? I don't know. He knows when you're awake. He knows when you're sleeping. So The Rock and Chris Evans, they team up, of course, and apparently every toy store in the world has a portal in it. It was so dumb. They get their supplies from his toy store too. And The Rock is able to make this Hot Wheels car into an actual car. It doesn't make any sense. Because he says that it works on some things, but not everything. And I'm only able to use it. And don't try to use it. Like, what? So they head to Aruba. I guess there's a Toys R Us there. And obviously, it's probably some studio lot in Atlanta where they shot this scene because it looks fake as hell. They confront whoever brokered the deal between Jack and Kiernan Shipka, and of course it's fucking Nick Kroll, who's so wasted in this movie. How do you have Nick Kroll and none of his lines are funny at all? And he's barely in the movie. He's only in this one scene. This scene is fucking insane. The Rock is able to shrink down, which makes me believe that he is an actual elf who just grows himself to be 6 foot Rock. And the CGI for this scene looks good too. Kind of. I mean, you could barely see it. It moves so fast that you can't notice the shitty CGI. And he takes down all of Nick Kroll's goons, and they finally confront him and they ask, who do you work for? And Nick Kroll's like, I can't say your name out loud. And he writes out the name, and of course Chris Evans says it out loud. You find out it's Gorilla the Witch, who I've never heard of before. I have no idea who this is. She pops up out of nowhere. She sends her goons. I guess they saw that Hot Frosty movie. They send out these roided out Frosty the Snowman. And somehow Chris Evans is able to fight them off. How? It makes no sense. The Rock, it kind of makes sense. Because you assume that The Rock has some sort of power because apparently he's over hundreds of years old. I think they only mentioned it once that he's 600 years old. And the way they're able to defeat them is by taking off their carrot nose. It's so fucking dumb. Just like Frosty. Unfortunately, Nick Kroll gets frozen, and it's going to take too long to get the info out of him before they're able to melt the ice. And Lucy Liu comes back. I think she's only like 3 scenes in this movie. They ask Chris Evans who could be behind this, and Chris Evans suggests that whoever it is, they don't want to be found out, blah, blah, blah. And The Rock suggests that it could be Krampus who's behind this as well, because Grila's Krampus's ex, I guess. I don't know. So then we cut back to Grilla testing out the magical snow globe on some random dude named Aaron Abel. So dumb. And it works. But it's not able to come back to Grilla. It's just stuck there. And she gets upset. So she changes up her plan. So then we see The Rock and Chris Evans on the way to Krampus. And Jack gets a call from his ex talking about, you didn't pull up. And Jack's like, well, I'm at work. And the funny thing about this movie is that Chris Evans has a different accent in literally every scene. So they get to Krampus's city of Krampus or whatever the fuck. I think he's played by the guy who's a wildling in Game of Thrones, the ginger. Jack accidentally alerts Krampus because he steals a piece of gold because he's a thief, get it? So they're sent to a dungeon and then they get brought up to Krampus and Krampus already knows who The Rock is. So The Rock tries to plead to Krampus that your brother's missing, you should help him out. And Krampus obviously doesn't care. And they're playing Krampus slap. So Krampus slaps the shit out of The Rock, but then Chris Evans is able to sneak The Rock's glove back onto The Rock, and The Rock slaps the shit out of Krampus, and then they escape, and The Rock tells him that you did a good job out there. I'll try to get you on the nice list. So when they get back and they're on the run again, they find this package addressed to Chris Evans from Grilla, but he doesn't open it. And then his son calls him conveniently at the same time. And he's like, I know you didn't show up to my concert. I know you don't care about me, but don't send me this fucking Christmas present. Jack is like, wait, what Christmas present? And it's, of course, the fucking snow globe. Of course, his son gets trapped.
We got snowmen!
Well, it was nice to meet you, Cal. Good luck with everything.
And because their naughty status, they grow and break out of the snow globes, which makes no sense. Apparently, Lucy Liu put a tracker on Chris Evans, so they're able to find out where they are. And the whole time, they've been at the North Pole. Santa, everybody who's been kidnapped, which I guess. And they also realize that Gorilla's sons/goons have been at the North Pole the entire time. They've taken over because they realize that they're all shapeshifters, which we saw earlier when Aaron Abel got captured. So literally the whole reason for kidnapping Santa was to use his sleigh and deliver all these globes around the world to capture naughty people. It's so dumb. It literally could have been anything else. So Grilla's about to escape, but The Rock and Chris Evans catch up. And they rescue Santa. They try to wake Santa up. And Grilla turns back into her true form, this giant ogre that's like 50 feet tall. She's about to attack them. But of course, Krampus comes in and saves the day. Grilla instantly throws him around. And Krampus is like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Like, what the fuck? What is this movie? So Santa wakes back up and summons his reindeers. And these reindeers, they're like 20 feet tall. So they're able to knock Grilla out into one of the many globes that are stuck down there. And Grilla gets trapped in a globe. And Lucy Liu takes her into custody. So everybody scrambles to get J.K. Simmons to do his job. He lets Chris Evans and his son and The Rock come with him. We get this ending scene of all these presents being delivered. The Rock sees Chris Evans as a kid, and J.K. Simmons is like, it's what it's all about. And The Rock stays as Santa's bodyguard. The end. Wow. wow, this movie is so dumb. The only positives I can think of is that some of the practical effects look great, like Krampus and all the Krampus goons that are in this movie. I thought the polar bear looked good. You know, there's some funny scenes in this movie, like that guy who said he's famous because he has 3,000 followers. Or that Wonder Woman joke, even though it doesn't really land in this movie. It landed better in the trailer. But yeah, I mean, this movie's just so lazy. Honestly, this movie, if they did want to do the kidnapping angle, it should have just been some businessman who kidnapped Santa to make money off Santa or something. Anything other than this dumbass script. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with The Rock peeing in bottles because you're forcing the crew to work overtime because you're late to set. How are you late to set? What? I don't even understand. Like, are you flying every day from LA to be in this movie? I would rate this movie, I'm gonna be nice, I'm gonna say it's a 5 out of 10. Just because it's watchable trash. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about this movie. It's so dumb. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Go like, comment, subscribe. Bye.